Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors, and like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have Michael Ross Ault. And we're going to be discussing his amazing book, Suppressors: The Shattering. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. Pretty much all the regular online book resellers, people. But listen, if you want to gather everything that Mike has in store, and I mean everything, because trust me when I tell you, Mike has a lot in store. You're going to want to check out his personal site, authormichaelrault.com. There, you're going to find more information on him, more information on this fantastic novel. But people, get this. Mike has 7 others that he has written at the moment, all of which are going to be non-stop page turners that you're not going to be able to put down. All right. You're going to want to head on over there and get lost in all of it. Once again, that's authormichaelrault.com. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Mike here on the line. People, his book, Suppressors: The Shattering, I'm telling you, once you start to read it, you start to understand the journey that you're embarking upon. You're not going to put it down. All right. This is something that is destined for the big screen because it has Hollywood written all over it. It is something that is entertaining to no end, but it also has a great message underneath of perseverance. And I'm telling you, there is so much happening here that once you've concluded, you're going to have to go and pick up these 7 other novels because you're just going to want more, man. There is so much to be gained here, so much to be offered here by Mike, a true mark of a wonderful writer. And at the end of the day, he's the expert. Let's bring him here with us so we can discuss them all. Mike, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm glad to be here.
Well, listen, it is a pleasure to have you here, Mike. Really, the honor is all ours. Your book is something straight out of a Hollywood film, but coupled with a great message of perseverance underneath. I'm telling you, it's a wonderful balance of entertainment and information without becoming preachy. And that's key, man, because I think oftentimes there's going to be one or the other, or the balance is slightly off. You found a way to mix them together in a very, very successful way, you know, in my opinion. And I know a lot of my listening audience members are going to believe that as well. Before we jump into this wonderful book, start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Well, I actually started writing as a teenager. Of course, at that time, it's kind of telling my age, it was writing bad knockoffs to Man from U.N.C.L.E. But I got away from that, luckily, and got into my first love, which is fantasy and science fiction. So, unfortunately, I deviated a little bit of that during my professional career and wrote about 26 books about Oracle database systems, which I guess are probably out of print now. But they got me used to writing, got me used to being disciplined, meeting deadlines. And so that helped with the fiction writing that I'm now doing.
You know, branching off of that, I want to go into inspiration next here, Mike. Talk to us about what inspired you to write this particular novel, but not only write the novel itself, how did you go about constructing this fictional world that your readers are going to find themselves in?
Well, it actually started as I had a thought about what if magic existed all the time? But for some reason, it was being suppressed, and that was where it kind of started. And then I tried to carry that through to who would be doing the suppressing and why would they be suppressing it. And that led to the development of the suppressors. And then, of course, they had to have antagonists or protagonists, whichever you prefer. And so I developed the paladins that are kind of their nemesis. And so the play in the book is between the paladins and the suppressors, and Donovan Kane, the hero, is stuck in the middle.
Mike, next I want to go into, are there any unexpected twists or turns that your readers will enjoy encountering once they pick up this book and embark upon the journey?
Well, when I got about halfway through it, I realized that I had almost written myself into a corner, in that they were going to have to revitalize this Narthex, whether they did it for themselves or let the suppressors themselves do it. And to do that, someone had to die. And so I either had to find a way to dilute that so that the person didn't die, or maybe bring in another character. And so I decided to revive a historical magician.
Well, well, now I really want to know, Mike. I mean, you've piqued my curiosity here, man. But listen, I'm going to leave it alone, people. Because listen, Mike is clearly a marketing expert, all right? Because he understands how to build a teaser properly. Well, listen, if you're like me and you are dying to know who he's talking about, because I know you all are as well, then you got to listen to me, and you got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and most importantly, his personal website, authormichaelrault.com. Remember, the book we're discussing today is called Suppressors, The Shattering. But bear in mind that Mike has a lot more. All right. There are 7 other novels that you're going to want to pick up when you head on over there. Hopefully much, much more on the horizon. We'll tackle that in a little bit here. Mike, we know about your book, man. We know about the precipice that began you on this journey. Well, I'm curious now about what was a highlight for you in its construction.
Well, I mean, of course, finishing is always a highlight for most authors, because a lot of people start things and then they just either peter out, or they lose interest, or they don't complete it. So that's always a good high point. But when it comes together, when your characters seem to mesh together, and they actually begin writing the story themselves, and you're just kind of watching it happen in your mind as you write it down, that's when I really feel that I've achieved something, is that when the characters take on life of their own.
A great segue that you've established there, Mike, because that final part is something key, right? Characters taking on a life of their own. I've heard that previously on a number of occasions from other writers. When they're engulfed in their projects, how the passion or the moment, whatever you want to call it, how characters then can seem to just do that, right? They take on a life of their own. Well, Mike, can you share with our listening audience at this time, were there ever a time or a moment in your process where that happened with you, where your characters or your storyline almost seemed to write themselves?
Well, as I said before, when they were dealing with these manifestations that were happening because magic was coming back into the world, that section seemed to write itself. The stories just seemed to come, the different things they fell into, whether it was a manticore they had to deal with, or a vampire, or some other mythical creature. It just seemed to happen, and I had to do minimal research to find out some of the things I'd put in there, because I actually pulled some of the things from actual spells and incantations and legends from like Japan and other places. So that really helped, that the characters were kind of rooting me on to finish the scene, and to give them material to work with.
Well, listen, I mean, that's a great point now that you brought up. It's something very interesting. Let's now go into that research that you conducted in preparation for this novel. Talk to us about the research, interesting notions, and or things that ended up making it onto the page.
Well, like the stories of the manticore and the djinn, and the vampire and the angry ghosts from Japan. All of those are things that I had to research to make sure that I got the nuance right. I mean, everyone's got the Twilight and the other stories in their head about that's how vampires work or werewolves work. But if you look really deep into the legends, it's not quite right. And so that's what I tried to get right, was what was actually going on.
I love it. I think it adds another layer of depth there in the novel. And also, just between you and I, my wife loves stories of witches and vampires and all of that. I mean, this is something right up her alley. So I know she's going to love it. So you talk about Twilight and all those things. Man, that is her bread and butter right there, okay? This is something that she just loves. But, Mike, let's just transitioning here, man. Let's explore our imaginations a little bit, okay? Now, I'm curious. I want to pose this question. Stick along here with me. Follow me down this rabbit hole, Mike. If you had the opportunity to bring your book to life and you could choose any particular section to immerse yourself in and experience fully, I'm curious to know, which section would you choose to live through and why?
Look, I think the biggest challenge and the most fun the characters had was in battling these mythic creatures that these people were manifesting. So I think that part would be the most fun for me. Because the others could be a little dark, where they're trying to bring the Narthex back and realizing that maybe someone has to die, or where they're dealing with the suppressors, who are really kind of an evil bunch. They kind of got drunk on their power, and they're not really doing what they should be doing with the magical energies. So dealing with that part of it would be depressing but necessary.
Yeah. Like, we talked before about your book being wildly entertaining, but not only are they entertaining, there's also a great message found underneath for all of them. But specifically with this one, we're talking about that underlying message of perseverance. And that's something that we can all benefit from, right? Whether you're into this book or not, that message is something you can take to the bank. Well, rather than assuming here, Mike, I want to hear it from you. What are you hoping that your readers take from your book upon its conclusion?
Well, that bad things happen to people. I mean, the main character, Jonathan Kane, had a trauma during his teenage years. And that trauma, of course, led him to not be everything that he could be as far as being a magician. So he has to overcome that trauma in the book to fulfill what he needs to do with the rest of the book, with the rebuilding of the Narthex and defeating the suppressors. He needs to overcome this mediocrity that he's doomed himself to because of this early failure.
Closing out of here now, Mike, final question for you, man. You got 7 other novels, okay? Dealer's choice, because I'd be doing my listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't ask, okay? So please choose another one of your titles and give us a brief synopsis as to what to expect when we head on over there and purchase it.
Well, I'm developing a series that's a dystopian post-apocalyptic series. The first book in there is Prelude to Darkness. And it tells the story of a computer consultant that gets kind of trapped in New York City by an electromagnetic pulse event, one that takes down the entire electrical grid of the United States. And he has to fight his way home while his wife has to get out of her neighborhood, which has turned kind of dystopian, and get to their escape location. And he has to find her and get back with her. So everything that they have to go through and everything that everyone else has to go through. I think that's probably been one of my most enjoyed books out there right now. So, and then there's the second in the series, When Darkness Comes, and I'm working on the third book in that series right now.
People, listen, there is so much to sink your teeth into. It starts with suppressors, but I promise you it doesn't end there, okay? Remember, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Suppressors, The Shattering is just one, because there are 7 other novels that Mike has written, man. It's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's author michaelrault.com. Head on over there and get lost in every single one of these magnificent books. It's going to keep you entertained. It's going to keep you locked in. And if you search for it, it may just teach you some things, okay? And in addition to all of that, yeah, like Mike just said, he's not done. All right. Be on the lookout for future novels that he is currently constructing. And I'm just going to say it. I said it at the very beginning of the interview, but I'm going to say it again. I can easily see these being created for the Hollywood screen as well. So refreshingly original, amazingly entertaining. You know, again, Hollywood, you need to tap in. Mike, if you haven't been approached yet, man, listen, be on the lookout for it because I'm sure it's going to happen. Mike is onto something special here, people, but it starts with these literary versions first and foremost. You know where to go. All right, head on over there, pick up your copies, and get lost in all of them. Mike, this has been a delight, man. We have thoroughly enjoyed this experience as well as this discussion. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.